Hi, everybody. Welcome to our ongoing adventure in internal thought, contemplation, self-awareness, self-criticism, and other forms of depression. Okay, so that was not serious. The opposite. Try to get some insight according to the deep analysis of Chassidut to try to improve ourselves. And we started to talk yesterday about the notion of the word ach, brotherhood, that the same word ach also means to bind something together, to sew something together tightly. And this tragic pasuk that from the prophet Yeshayahu, Isaiah, Achechem sonechem, brothers yet haters, right? That because we fail to feel the underlying achness, that's a new word, therefore we feel this hatred, right? Everybody feels separate. I had this insight which I want to share with you. This is cheaper than psychotherapy for me. So do you mind? So I was thinking about this word ach, which the Rebbe Rashab here is talking about the idea of la'achot, to bind together. And it occurred to me just something, maybe it was obvious to you, but it somehow only occurred to me today. And that is that the word ach, right, or achot, right, brother and sister, right, that, good morning, Elisheva, that could be related to the word echad, oneness, because the word ach is aleph chet, that's brother, and the word echad is aleph chet daled. So someone will say to me, well, what does that do for you? One is aleph chet daled, and one is aleph chet. They're not the same word. Okay. Happen to be just they have two letters in common. So it occurred to me, there's a deep theory, we talk about this many times, but it's really essential to our whole discussion here, is that Hebrew is not an arbitrary language, right? He, unlike other languages, which are arbitrary. In fact, that's called a chair in English, right? There's nothing about that thing which necessitates I call it a chair, but that's not true in Hebrew. The fact that a stone in Hebrew is called an evan is because those three letters, aleph, bet, nun, are kind of the spiritual formula, just like water is H2O. So a stone is aleph, bet, nun, right? It represents the spiritual energies which create the stone. Okay, so in Lashon HaKodesh, in the Hebrew language, so many people have pointed out, many great Torah scholars, that even though we're used to thinking of all Hebrew words coming from three-letter roots, okay, you look at any words, so actually why I think Hebrew is such an easy language, because even if you don't know what the word means, if you can look at the root, and then you can sort of guess what the word means based upon the root that you recognize. So there's a theory that really it's not a three-letter root, that all three-letter roots can actually be derived from a two-letter root. And I'll give you an example of that. So I'm going to give you a bunch of Hebrew words that are all different three-letter roots, okay? So the word poteach, like potech et yadecha, Hashem, you open up your hands. We say in Tehillim, we're saying in just a few minutes, right? And Ashra, very good, Elisheva. So that's pei, taf, chet. Those three Hebrew letters, good, poteach. Okay, now we're also about to say in a few minutes, pokeach ivrim. We're going to say, blessed are you, Hashem, pokeach ivrim, who opens up the eyes of the blind, pokeach. That's pei, kufchet. No relationship. What is poteach et yadecha? Open your hands. What is open up your eyes? Pei, tafchet, pei, kufchet. Okay, so, well, it doesn't end there. There's a word, lefatseach. That means to open up a seed. Okay, now there used to be in movie theaters in Israel a sign that said, don't eat your seeds here, because people would leave a mound of sunflower seeds on the floor in the movie theater. So it's the shells. So that's called lefatseach. That's pei tzadichet. Well, that's a different root too. But I'll be a monkey's uncle. Every single one of those words. Pei tzadichet means like open up a nut, right? Pei kufchet, that's open up your eyes. Pei tavchet, that's to open your hands, like we talked before, or open the door. So they all have the meaning of to open in one way or another, right? And what two letters do they have in common? Pei chet. So that's an example of how really the root is not the three-letter root of pei kufchet or pei tavchet or pei tzadichet. It's actually pei chet. So even three-letter roots can be boiled down to the most essential cosmic energy of two letters. Okay, now the word echad, oneness. Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem echad. Okay, now we just talked about that there's a word ach, which means both brotherhood, right? But it also can mean to mend, to take two things and sew them together real tight. Okay. Whoa. The word echad, perhaps itself, is generated from a two-letter root, right? Of aleph chet. That aleph chet are the two letters which symbolize ultimate unity, right? Aleph chet. But then I realized, and because I got this room full of Kabbalists here, and it inspired me, and I realized, what would they say? What would Elisheva say? As I go around the day, what would Elisheva say? And then I realized, okay, Aleph Chet, the two-letter root, okay? So Aleph is the letter Aleph, right? And that symbolizes what number? One. What's the word Aleph Chet we're claiming means?
You have 8.
So one, right? Aleph means one. It's the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet. I see that. What would Elisheva say? What's the next letter? Is Chet. Now Chet is a numerical value what? 8. Now what are we all saying here? What causes division? What causes division is that the process of creation was a function of differentiation. You need differentiation. And what are the fundamental building blocks of creation? The 7 sfirot. That's the natural partition, differentiation, individuation of creation. And what was the great crisis of Shvirat HaKelim, the breaking of the vessels? That each sfira thought of itself as being disconnected and wholly individual from all the other sfirot, right? And that creates the tohu, the chaos and the breaking of the vessels and disaster. Okay, so that the fundamental building blocks of creation are the seven sfirot. That now, of course, look at nature. Look at the way we view the world in terms of the number 7. 7 days in the week, right? 7 is the number which represents nature, right? Yeah. And natural, by its very nature, represents this idea of individuation, differentiation, because that's what creation, nature is, okay? The crisis is when all of those individuated entities don't see the connection. There's only one way to see the connection, and that is if one has spiritual eyes to go beyond the natural differentiation. What is the number which goes beyond the natural? Is 8. That's the Chet. What day do we have the Brit Milah, the circumcision of a baby? On the 8th day, because what does that represent, the circumcision? It represents our ultimate attachment to God by transcending the natural. That's what Brit Milah, that's the message of Brit Milah. It's covenant, which represents the transcendence of natural, right? That's why it's on the 8th day. That's Aleph Chet. So oneness through eightness, eightness, okay, right? Which is the transcendence of, that's exactly what we're talking about here. Oneness through eightness. And that's what the point that the Rebbe Rashab made, that Ach, which is brotherhood, right, is this force of ultimate unity. And yet when we somehow create that into sinah of hatred, what a terrible tragedy.
It is sad.
So that's the Aleph Chet.
Yeah, but I want to add a couple
Sure.
things. First of all, when you add up 1 and 8, you have 9, which is for goodness, Tov, Tet. So that God is giving us already a message there. All right. The other message is there's only one God, Aleph, who supersedes every God. I am not the gods of the nation. You are not the nations, my Jewish people. We supersede that. So that's 8. That's the Chet.
Where's
put it together.
Where's the 8 come in?
Because God is supernatural.
Oh,
God is above every
above.
nation,
Right.
God that they make, every idol. So I am not them, and you are not them. We supersede the natural.
Yeah.
We should be gone already.
Beseder. Okay, great. Okay, so that was just a thought. Okay, so now let's go on. We can finish off this chapter, and so we're on chapter 9 right now. Speaking of 9, so we're in chapter 9 here, and we'll begin with the last point that he made was this great tragedy that the reflection of the fact that we don't feel this unity is how not only do we sometimes not empathize with the trials and pain of others, we even are happy at their misfortune. Do you remember this last point we made yesterday, right? And the Rebbe pointed out that how this is the exact opposite of what it should be, right? That really, in fact, we should be happy, maybe it's too a strong word, but our own trials and tribulations, we should have a certain feeling of acceptance of them. Why? Because if we're honest with ourselves, we know that we need it, okay? But one is not allowed to look at somebody else who's suffering and say, you need it.
Yeah.
Right? You're not allowed to say that about somebody else, but about ourselves, we know ourselves, or at least we should know ourselves, and we realize that we need it. So what a perverted world we live in emotionally, that something bad happens to somebody else and we gloat about it. In a grotesque way. I mean, I had a experience where someone was sick, and somebody else didn't like that person who was sick, and they were like telling me how that person was sick, and they were telling me with like satisfaction, like, did you hear how sick he was? Like, what a perverted world we're living in. Oh my God, to take joy in somebody else's sickness. So that was this kind of expression of just how sick we are in terms of our spiritual health. Okay, so did we actually finish this parak? I don't think we did.
No, we're like 5.
Yeah.
5.
Okay. So we'll start with Aval al Zulato, but concerning somebody else, concerning somebody else's misfortunes, you're not allowed to say, oh, he obviously deserved it. Because concerning somebody else, there's a principle of to judge everybody to the side of merit, to look favorably upon a person. You're not allowed to say, oh, he's obviously deserved it. You're not allowed to extrapolate from yourself to somebody else. So I must deserve these bad things that happen to me. It's the medicine, it's the bitter pill I need, so it must be true of that person too. You're supposed to say, oh my God, it's so terrible, it's happening to you. One is required to judge everybody's side of merit. This is that important principle that is in Pirkei Avot. Pirkei Avot, of course, is this is the season for Pirkei Avot between Pesach and Shavuot. So therefore, we should feel so much empathic pain over somebody else's trials and tribulations. We have Vakesh Rachamim Alav, and to request mercy for them. But if a person doesn't feel empathic pain to somebody else's trials and tribulations, and even more so, they feel some joy when somebody else is having problems. This is a reflection of that psychopathic, pathological hatred that we feel towards another person. That we hate somebody for no reason whatsoever. Start the next paragraph. And this is going to hurt. Okay, are you ready for this? This is going to be tough love. this idea of sinat chinam is found particularly in religious people who serve God. Well, I thought that serving God was like the answer, not the problem. Like people who serve God are like, they're better, right? That's a upgrade. No. Every person builds a platform for themselves, a stage for themselves, a pedestal for themselves, a world for themselves, their own self-contained universe. And we're going to go into this deeply, and it'll continue tomorrow. For instance, learning Torah. So a person will learn Torah and they have their own understanding of what they're learning in Torah, and they're not open to other views. Okay, all these things that we talked about in depth, you'll see. Or in terms of personal spiritual development. So whether we're talking about learning Torah, whether we're talking about growing as a Jew, davening, working on one's character, that avoda, al pi chochmato dafka, that a person gets completely cloistered into their own egocentric world and not connected. They don't meet achadim. You see the root of that word? Meet achadim, from the word echad. They're not uniting, become one, mitchabrim, and becoming bound with another person at all, right? In these realms of Torah learning, in the realm of character development, spiritual development, everybody's in their own world. I mean, I really, I don't want to start crying. But, Baruch Hashem, look at these wonderful people here in the room and out there in digital land. We're all trying to grow, but everybody, even though we come together for a few minutes to learn Torah, everybody's this universe that we don't share with each other. Who knows what's lurking.
That's true. Everybody has their own secrets.
In my soul.
That's true.
Try not to speak into that microphone with regarding to my inner world, right? Asher be'emet yesod v'ikar gadol ba'oskim b'torah v'avodah. Now he says the following. This would be such a revolution if we could do this. It would turn our world upside down for the good, except for it be pretty scary. And we'd probably have to make a new shul. That'd be scary too. That in truth, look what he says, the very foundation and the greatest principle for those who want to truly grow in Torah and avodah and serving God, to unite together and to talk to one another. To really talk to one another. Not the, I'm okay, everything's groovy, I have no problems, I'm El Capitan, solid granite. I'm sure other people have problems, but hey, I'm religious. I'm not supposed to have any problems. Hein be'esika Torah. Whether we're talking about Torah, and now he's going to give you an illustration. Halo barzel barzel yichad v'ish yachad pnei re'ehu. Quotes a pasuk here from Mishlei, and it's a beautiful pasuk. Just as iron sharpens iron, so does man sharpen another. When you want to take sharpen something, so you like a knife, yeah, exactly. Oh, that's a better, thank you. 2 knives, right? Real chef, you ever seen these real chefs, right? That's how Moriah sharpens her knives over there in the kitchen. So that's how you sharpen something. It's the same thing. We want to become sharp. Sharp means to, clarity. By the way, interesting. You say sharp in Hebrew, chad. Now, how's that for something interesting? That sounds a lot like what other word? Echad, everything we're talking about, sharpness, oneness, clarity, uniformity, vision and clarity. Okay, you know how you do it? You have to you cannot sharpen a knife blade by itself. I'll take this knife blade in the air by itself. You need another knife. Without interaction between the two knives, everything becomes dull and no clarity.
Here's the meat.
Ki lo yochal lomar asher kafi sichlo hu emet. A person by themselves won't be able to perceive the truth. If a person interacts with another person in truthfulness and candor and honesty, only then can one come to truth. We'll pause here and we'll continue Be'ezrat Hashem tomorrow.